Alright guys, I am back with my review of CZW's Cage of Death 15, and it's been a long time since I watched a CZW show. The last show I watched was last year's Cage of Death, and I think it was better than this one. Nothing was really good on this entire show. The Cage of Death main event was good, and the first two matches were good. Everything else was so boring. What was the match? You got Suzio, Biff Buzzsick, and DJ Hyde versus Navia and Ohio is for Killers. After that match, I was expecting them to start setting up the cage. Then when Shane Strickland came out, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I have to watch another match on this show. This show, in the main event, Rory Mondo comes out with My Sacrifice carved into his back, and I was thinking, this is my sacrifice. Watching this fucking show was my sacrifice. Okay, so to even watch the show, I had to update my Flash player. I went to the website, ordered the pay-per-view. I had video. It was showing the promo for the pay-per-view, so I was like, no problems there. And around 7:50, I was thinking, okay, they're running a little late. Show should have started at 7:30, but no big deal. Around 8:05, I started to get concerned. So I found out I had to update my Flash player, so I did that, and I missed the first few minutes of the show. No matches or anything, but Tommy Dreamer was out there, and he did something. I don't know what the fuck it was. But the first match was Drew Gulak versus Chris Hero for the world title. And I did like this match, but oddly enough, I thought Chris Hero was kind of off out there. I thought Drew Gulak did a great job, but this is where he wrestles all the time. And Chris Hero, I don't watch NXT, so I don't know how he wrestles there, but I feel like it's been a long time since he's wrestled the style he used to wrestle on the indies, and he was a little off. It wasn't anything major, just a few spots, had some bad timing, but it's been a long time since he's wrestled on the indies, especially for CZW, but it was still a good match. Gulak kicks out of the rolling elbow and gets Chris Hero in a trailer hitch type submission, and Hero taps. So Gulak goes over here, then Masada comes out, and nothing happens. It's just a stare down. It was pretty stupid, and I'm not a fan of Masada, so I could give a shit about this. So next we get the 6-man scramble match, and like I said earlier, it's been a long time since I've watched any CZW, so I'm not really familiar with the storylines or who a lot of people on the show are, but I'm going to do my best. You got Joe Gacy, Andrew Everett, Tony Nese, Chuck Taylor, who has cut his hair. I don't know when he did this, but he looks a lot like AJ Styles now. AR Fox and Azrael. And I really liked this match. It was a fun match to watch. A ton of crazy dives. Everybody worked really hard in this match. The only problem I had with it was Joe Gacy hits a splash on AR Fox for the win. Why did he go over here? This guy was easily the worst wrestler in this match. But other than that, it was a really good match. So then you get Greg Excellent with Mama Excellent versus Freight Train with Cherry Bomb. Now, Freight Train is a mentally challenged wrestler. Kind of like Eugene, but for real. This is not a joke. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this, because on one hand, I kind of feel like they're poking fun at the guy, which is pretty messed up. But on the other hand, they're giving him a chance to live his dream, a chance he otherwise probably wouldn't have. So it's a slippery slope here, but some of the commentary definitely makes me feel like they're poking fun at the guy. So the match was very bad. Greg Excellent sings Whole New World from Aladdin, or whatever the name of that song is. Mama Excellent takes her shirt off to distract Freight Train. Cherry Bomb super kicks Excellent. Mama Excellent choke slams her. And Greg Excellent gets Freight Train in a single leg Boston Crab. He actually went for a sharpshooter but couldn't pull it off, so it turned into a single leg Boston Crab. Freight Train taps out. Greg Excellent gets the win, and he kidnaps Cherry Bomb. So we get JT Dunn and David Starr, the Juicy Product, versus Blackout for the tag titles. This match is tied with the Suzio, Biff Bizsick, DJ Hyde versus Novia and Ohio is for Killers match as worst match on this show. This one was very boring. Nothing exciting. It was very average, step by step, very choreographed, and still a lot of bad timing with the choreographed spots. It was just very bland. Oh God, what happens here? Juicy Product has Black G's beat. Robbie Marino gets on the apron, distracts the ref. Black G's hits a double stomp on David Starr for the win. That was it. Very happy when this one ended. Kimber Lee with the Campaign versus Christina Von Erie. Constant interference by the Campaign here. A ridiculous amount of interference. Really hurt this match. Masada never came out to help his girlfriend, so that was stupid. Alexander James trips Christina Von Erie. Kimber Lee rolls her up, gets the win. Afterwards, Christina Von Erie stabs the barbecue skewers in the top of Kimber Lee's head. Crowd popped big time for this, so that was cool. But yeah, the constant interference really hurt this one. John Silver and Alex Reynolds, the Beaver Boys, that's the name of their tag team. I'm not making this shit up, guys. Versus Green Ant and Fire Ant of the Colony. That was awesome. That was a big surprise. But as the Colony members are making their way to the ring, the commentators said something like, excuse me, lots of change has taken place on this show. Change? What changed? Gulak retained. You had Joe Gacy go over in the 6-man scramble match for no fucking reason. Greg Excellent had a comedy match. The tag team champions retained. And Kimber Lee beat Christina Von Erie. Where was the change on this show? What change do you speak of? So John Silver hit a Samoan drop on both members of the Colony. That was a cool spot. Then the Beaver Boys hit double super kicks on Fire Ant and a weird move for the win. It was a very slow start to this match, but it actually did turn into a decent match. I actually got into this one, so got to give these guys credit here. Definitely a big fan of the Colony, and the Beaver Boys weren't too bad, but yeah, that name is stupid as fuck. It's Chris Dickinson versus Davey Richards, and the commentators are really hyping up this Chris Dickinson guy as a badass, but to me it looked like he was trying to avoid a lot of contact out there. Some of the kicks Davey Richards would throw to the face, this guy would move and you could tell the kicks weren't even close to his head. That happened a few times in this match. And the lights actually went out in this match too. And later on more lights went out, so the fans were booing that, but it wasn't really a big deal. I mean, you could still see everything. So Davey Richards kicks out of the Burning Hammer, but Dickinson hits the Brain Eater for the win, which was a pretty cool move. And it was a good match. It's just, it could have been much better. And knowing the wrestler that Davey Richards is, you would think, well, it's this guy Chris Dickinson that held the match back. But I don't think it was. I think Davey Richards, his heart wasn't in this one. Everything that happened with him in Ring of Honor, where he was basically fired from Ring of Honor, Final Battle also took place tonight. He was supposed to be there. I feel like he took the booking with CZW, and to Davey Richards, this was just another payday. And he didn't really have the same passion in this match. And I think that held the match back. And if he really wanted to show Ring of Honor that they messed up, he should have went out there and had a fantastic match with this guy. But it was good, but it wasn't anything great. So afterwards, Dickinson grabs a microphone and puts Davey Richards over. Then Davey takes the mic and he says Ring of Honor has lost their heart. And his time on the Indies is coming to an end. So he won't be back. That was hilarious because the fans were chanting, please come back. And then he's like, I'm not coming back to CZW. So this next match, I'm having a very tough time deciding between this and that damn tag team title match for what was actually the worst match on the show. But this match just had so much ass in it. You got Niles Young in the match, which I couldn't even believe. Apparently he changed his name to Suzio. So he goes by Suzio now. You got Suzio, Biff Buzzsick, and DJ Hyde, who is terrible. He's always been terrible. Versus Navia and Ohio is for Killers, Irish Airborne. And during the match, DJ Hyde grabs a microphone right in the middle of the match, and he's trying to get some cheap heat. It was pretty pathetic. Then the referee kicks out DJ Hyde's goons, which struck me as odd because they never kicked out the campaign despite all their interference. And Jake Christ hits a superplex on Suzio onto a pile of chairs on the outside. That was a pretty cool spot. But then Navia hits DJ Hyde with the weakest chair shot I've ever seen in my life. And he sold it. Then she hits him again. This one was a little bit better. Covers him and gets the win. That was the match. It was horrible. Then they announced the winner of some contest and the fans boo him. I thought that was pretty funny. Then it's Shane Strickland versus Alex Cologne for the Wired title. And I feel like I was a little harsh in the beginning of this video, saying that everything was just really bad except for Hero, Gulak, and the 6-man scramble in the Cage of Death match. The show had a lot of decent matches on here, a lot of stuff that could have been much better, but this match was good. The Shane Strickland-Alex Cologne match was a good match. Both guys worked really hard out there, and last year, Shane Strickland opened Cage of Death, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and now he's right before the main event, so he's definitely moved up the card. I thought he did a really good job here. Cologne acts like he's hurt, and some guy runs out and hits a double stomp on Shane Strickland, but he kicks out. Cologne hits him with everything, but he kicks out. And then finally Cologne hits a double stomp and gets the win. So Shane Strickland still lost the match, but I thought he looked really strong here, and it was a good match. Then they start setting up the cage. So we go to intermission, which took a very long time, but I'm kind of used to that now. I don't really mind the long setup times. I just played zombies on Black Ops 2 while I waited. So now we get the Cage of Death with Devin Moore, Danny Havoc, Lucky 13 versus Matt Tremont, Rory Mondo, Ron Mathis, and Drew Blood. And let me explain the rules of this match because I got very confused. Once you enter the cage, if someone throws you through something on the outside, you're eliminated. And you can also be eliminated by pinfall. And this confused me because someone was eliminated by going through a table on the outside, but then I saw Drew Blood just walk out of the cage and go grab a weapon. I was like, well, what the fuck was that? But apparently it's okay to leave to get weapons. You just can't be thrown out of the cage. But the cage setup was really cool. It's not like the cage itself was anything different. It was still your standard cage, but they had scaffolds out there, just all types of gimmicks all over the place. Very good stuff. So Rory Mondo comes out first, and he's got this makeup on, which I actually thought looked kind of cool. His face is painted white. His whole head's painted white, actually. He kind of looked like the singer of Mudvayne. And he's got a sword with him, which I don't think was ever used in the match. But he comes out, they're playing his music, Last Resort, and almost immediately the music cuts out. So this just took away all his heat. And first up for the Nation of Intoxication is Devin Moore, who I thought was horrible in this match. I do not like Devin Moore, but here he was laughing damn near the entire time during the match, and he never took off that fucking stupid jersey. So I thought he was really bad in this Cage of Death, but he's brawling with Rory Mondo. Then Ron Mathis is up next. He trips on his way into the cage. Everyone laughs at him, including Devin Moore. Then Rory Mondo busts Devin Moore open, and he's licking some of his blood, and the fans chant, "You sick fuck." And Rory Mondo looks at the fans. He's like, "I am a sick fuck. I am a sick fuck." And this was kind of sad to me because I felt like this guy is so desperate for the fans' approval that it really came across like, look at me. I am a sick fuck. I am. And it was just kind of sad. Then Lucky 13 is out next. He puts Mathis through a pane of glass. Then it's Matt Tremont. Then Danny Havoc. Then Drew Blood comes out. And then the timer counts down again. Like the Nation of Intoxication is going to have a fourth member. But they don't. No one ever comes out. So they just continue with the match. Havoc hits a sick brain buster on Ron Mathis onto this platform. That had absolutely no give. I thought he killed the poor guy. Lucky climbs on top of the cage and uses wire cutters to trigger this trap they had set up. They had like this piece of a cage with chairs tied to it. So when he cut the wire, it swung down and just crushed Drew Blood. Very cool spot here. And then he opens this box, and all of these thumbtacks, Legos, and glass fall into the center of the ring. It's a really badass setup. So Havoc eliminates Ron Mathis by throwing him through a barbed wire table on the outside. Devin Moore hits a Finley roll on Drew Blood off the top of the cage through the piece of cage with the chairs tied to it and some glass. Just crazy shit. Tremont throws Devin Moore through this fence. They had this like wooden fence thing on the side of the cage and a barbed wire table on the outside. So Tremont was supposed to throw Devin Moore through this. It was supposed to break, and then he goes through the table. But it didn't happen like that because the fence didn't break. But Devin Moore is still eliminated. Then Rory Mondo throws Danny Havoc off a scaffold through all kinds of shit. Like, I think it was 3 layers of wood, glass, and Christmas ornaments. Just a crazy bump. So it's down to Lucky 13 versus Tremont and Mondo. They fight to the top of the cage, and Tremont is yelling at the fans. And while he's distracted, Lucky throws or hits a, I can't remember what the move was, but he puts Rory Mondo through a table, a barbed wire table, off the top of the cage, eliminating Rory Mondo. So Tremont is about to powerbomb Lucky off the top of the cage, and Sick Nick Mondo comes out. This was a huge surprise. I never expected Sick Nick Mondo. When they were counting down the timer, like Nation of Intoxication might get a 4th man, I was thinking maybe Zandig, maybe even Wife Beater. But I never thought Sick Nick Mondo. This was a huge surprise. Very cool. When they hit that music, I was like, it can't possibly, holy shit, it's him. So this was just a badass surprise. And it's not like he's back in CZW or anything. I know that. But it was just cool to see him come out in his old ring gear with the sick on the forehead. Amazing surprise. So Sick Nick Mondo climbs to the top of the cage. He kicks Tremont. Then Lucky throws Tremont through another scaffold structure. Kind of like Havoc's spot. It was a bunch of glass and wood and a barbed wire table. Just a crazy bump. So Lucky wins the match. So the last thing on this show is the confrontation between Rory Mondo and Sick Nick Mondo. And Rory Mondo grabs a microphone and he says, no, 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 you're dead. You shouldn't be here. And Nick Mondo grabs a microphone and he says that he's going to break kayfabe. And tonight, Rory Mondo wanted to take 2 weed whacker shots. And he couldn't let this happen. He wanted to take 2 weed whacker shots in honor of him. And the only way he could stop this was to show up tonight. And he says Rory Mondo has done enough. He's tried to win the approval of the fans, of the workers, and it's enough. He's done enough to himself. And he's earned his respect. So Rory Mondo says that that's all he ever wanted, which is really sad, kind of. And he says tonight was his last match. And he thanks the fans, and he leaves. I can't say it's been an amazing career. I could never really get into Rory Mondo because he was stealing the gimmick of someone else. Even if Nick Mondo gave him his blessing and all that crap, it's still someone else's gimmick, man. So I could never really get into him, but The guy did take some crazy bumps over the years. I will give him credit for that. But yeah, that was Cage of Death 15. And I thought the Cage of Death match definitely delivered. You had the Nick Mondo surprise, which was cool as hell. But everything else on this show was just really average. It did have some good matches, but nothing that really says Cage of Death. Nothing that would make you think, wow, this is CZW's biggest show of the year. I mean, this card had a ton of potential. If you looked at this card, you'd be like, damn, that sounds like a good show. I was excited for the show. So when it ended up being average, I was like, what the fuck? This feels like any other pay-per-view. So I was disappointed with that, but like I said, the Cage of Death match definitely delivered. So that's my review. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching.